Welcome to this course of Product Design and Value Engineering. In today's session, we will talk about another tool used for product analysis, which is Gozinto chart. So, I am Pratik Boradia, and without wasting any time, let us see what is Gozinto chart. Now, Gozinto chart was developed by a Westsonier, and it is very useful for determining the assembly. Goes into chart, as we seen that we know what is bill of material. It gives an idea about every parts that need to be there in an assembly. Gozinto chart is takes philosophy of bill of material somewhat forward, and it gives an idea about how to make assembly. So, Gozinto chart is a T diagram that displays hierarchical levels of detail of a complete product assembly process. This is somewhat Gozinto chart will look like, in which there will be some components and there will be some assembly levels. So this Gozinto chart shows that O1 is a part which is main body. On main body, we need to fasten two screws, which and on main body we will fasten this part O2, which is heat sink assembly, in the left side, and this uh, all three components, main body, heat sink assembly on left side, and two screws will make a sub assembly A1. So this shows that how to make sub assembly A1. Once the A1 sub assembly A1 is finished, what we'll need is, we will need sub assembly A1, we will need two screws, and we will need a part O3, which is heat sink assembly of right side. And after using all these components, we will get a sub assembly A2, and then on further we will get some other sub assemblies, and subsequently we'll assemble our entire product. So this is how a Gozinto chart will work. Now let us discuss some details about Gozinto charts. It is also known as assembly charts. Why? Because it gives an idea about assembly. Now goes into charts, also known as goes into or assembly chart. Why it is abbreviated as goes into? Because it shows what goes into an assembly. This is how people abbreviate it. It is actually named after an Italian mathematician with name Gozinto, but this is another abbreviation which people use, and it is much better to understand, because Gozinto chart is what goes into an assembly. And why it is important? Because it will give an idea about bill of material auditing. If you have all the data of assembly, then you can list down all the parts that needs to be there in a product assembly, and you can manufacture or you can produce a bill of material, or you can audit already available bill of material. It will also give idea about operator training, because we can train operator. Okay, first you need to do you need a lock ring, you need spacer, you need two rivets, and you need spring detent. And all these four components you will have to put in sub assembly 2, and then this sub assembly 2 will need to go in this assembly 2, and after that assembly 2 there will be a step which is A5, and this square bracket shows inspection. So in Gozinto charts, these round circles that denotes components or assembly operations, and this square that shows inspection. And Gozinto charts gives the idea about various uh, it gives idea about various assembly operations, various process operation, as well as various inspection operations also. Now let us look at an example of a Gozinto chart. Now we know that it is useful in scheduling production activities, and this is a example of a Gozinto charts used in process operations. In industry you will come across these types of Gozinto charts. What information this Gozinto charts will have? It will have name of part. What which assembly we are talking about? We are talking about washer assembly. It will have order number, it will have another reference numbers, and it will have a date on which date we need to do this assembly, or on which date we have prepared this chart. Now it will have idea about number of parts that goes into the assembly. There are mainly three parts: part A, part B, and part C. And how to assemble those parts? So first we'll go for part A. We will cut part A to size. So now this circular operation, instead of representing any part, it represents a process. First process is to cut to size. Then the another process is turn and bore. And after cutting and turning, we will inspect. And once the inspection is finished, we will have a part A. Then there will be part B, and part B will have one operation of turning and facing, and after turning and facing is finished, we will do drilling. Once these two operations are finished, we do not need to inspect here. So it shows operator that where to inspect, where not to inspect. And once these two parts are manufactured, we need to assemble those together. So this operation 5 here shows that we need to do assembly. Once we have assembly here at 5, we need to go to process 6, which is for part C, and first we will do turning. After that we will do a thread cutting operations, and after that we will do milling operations, because here sequence is 6, 7, 8. All this is finished, we will do inspection number 2. So inspection number 1 is here, inspection number 2 is here. After inspecting part C, and once we are happy with part C, what we will do is we will do final assembly of this assembly 5 and this part C, and final assembly is number 9. So this is ninth process for doing final assembly. And once the final assembly is finished, we will do a third inspection, which is the final inspection. So this is how a Gozinto chart looks like, and Gozinto chart will give all the detailed information about how to do assembly and which processes are to be followed step by step to achieve the entire product, or to achieve the final assembly. Now it is not necessary that Gozinto charts are used for mechanical purposes only. It can be used in other operations also. For example, here is an example of Gozinto chart for assembly of a Big Mac burger. So for achieving this Big Mac burger, where we will start from bottom bun. Then in bottom bun we need to add something. What we will need to add? We need a sub assembly. This SA means a sub assembly, and this sub assembly will have beef patty, salt, and cheese. Now remember that yes, this is sub assembly and we have not denoted it by anything else than SA. All the SA need to have same component and same structure. So all the sub assemblies will have a beef patty, all the sub assembly will have a salt and cheese. We can see that both the sub assembly will have beef patty, salt, and cheese. So on bottom one we will put this sub assembly. On that we will put this lettuce, sauce, and onion, and this is our first layer assembly. Then there will be a second layer assembly. For achieving second layer assembly, we will add first layer assembly, and we will add on first layer assembly a middle bun. On middle bun, we will add another sub assembly, which consists of beef patty, salt, and cheese. which will give us a second layer assembly, and we will adding some other parts, some other items on this second layer assembly to achieve a complete Big Mac. And for that we have lettuce, sauce, onion and pickles that will be added in second layer assembly, and to finish the assembly we will add sesame seed top one. And once this all the parts are added in assembly, our Big Mac assembly is complete with a wrapper. So finally we add wrapper to complete our Big Mac assembly. So this is how Gozinto charts are prepared, and this is how they are, sorry about that. So this is how Gozinto charts are prepared, and this is how they are applied to achieve a complete assembly. Also it gives an idea about complete assembly. Now what are the applications of these Gozinto charts? Okay, what are the applications of this Gozinto charts? As we can see, and as it is obvious from the process till now, that it shows the flow of the assembly process. The Gozinto charts shows which components and in which orders are to be made to make a complete assembly. Okay, so it shows the flow of the assembly process. Also it helps in break down a product into its parts. If we have this Big Mac as a product, and we want information about which parts are to be used in this product, then we can analyze this Gozinto chart or assembly chart, and we can say that okay, all these parts will be needed in our product. So it will help in breaking down the product into its parts. Also it is used for cross-referencing parts data. uh, what we mean by cross-referencing parts data with level of assembly. So there will be some sub-assemblies, and we cross-reference this with the part data that is available. For example, in this Big Mac there is two sub-assemblies. For each sub-assembly I will need a beef patty. So I can cross-reference that okay, for Big Mac I will need total of two beef patties, and both beef patties will be in different sub-assemblies. So this is what we mean by cross-referencing of part data and level of assembly. And also it will help in a big way to prepare your bill of materials. So it will very much will be helpful in preparing your bill of material. How it will be helpful in preparing your bill of material? Suppose you need to prepare a bill of material for this product, which is washer assembly. So for washer assembly, how many raw material will be there? There will be part A, part B and part C. Apart from this raw material, which is only part A, part B and part 3, we need data about, because bill of material is not only about part data. We have seen that bill of material also may include data about processes that need to be done. So which processes will be performed for part A, which processes need to be performed on part B, and which processes need to performed on part C. This also will be this information also will be generated from Gozinto charts. For part B we need to perform turning and facing, and after that we need to perform drilling. So we can generate our bill of material data, or we can cross verify our bill of material data if we have these Gozinto charts. So we have discussed two tools for analysis of product. One is bill of material, another one is Gozinto charts. Both of these tools are very important and widely used. There are number of many tools for analyzing, but in our course of our point of view, from syllabus point of view, those two, Gozinto charts and bill of materials, are more important. And be sure to prepare and go thoroughly through it, because this will also be very helpful and in industry, and those will also be very frequently used in industry. So if you are working in an industry, you will definitely need knowledge about Gozinto chart, and you will definitely need knowledge about bill of material. Okay, that will be all for today. This will be end of session.